Hey there, everybody. Been a while. I know I haven't been around for a long time, but I am back. I'm going to be picking back up relatively where I left off. One difference, we're going to be recording all of this stuff live from here on out over on my Twitch, so go ahead and click the link below if you want to be able to check that out. Otherwise, enjoy the rest of the video. Hey everybody, welcome to Gaming News Now. I'm going to do a quick little update on a story that I did on stream last week. If you want to go and watch that VOD, it is available on my Twitch, and I will make it available on my YouTube. NetEase, the company that recently released Marvel Rivals, laid off a handful of employees in the US. Now, originally, I thought that this was because of maybe something to do with the tariffs coming to China from the US, or maybe just trying to slowly kind of creep a little bit back because maybe they stretched a little too thin during the development of Marvel Rivals. Tends to happen with certain games. You hire on more people than you actually need, and once the game is released, you decided, oh, maybe that wasn't worth it. Let's kind of scale back now that we're in a good spot. But that is apparently not what was happening. According to a recent report from Bloober, they are cutting hundreds, if not maybe more, people and idling and pausing and just canceling a bunch of games that were originally on their release schedule. Something bigger going on at NetEase that we were not fully aware of. What was that, you say? Well, their earnings report just recently released. And let's just put it one way. It is not exactly the best thing in the world. It gives more light into why some of those people were laid off, and sadly, why others are being let go now, and why we are continuing the trend in the gaming industry that we are seeing more and more and more of. Balatro was originally released in Europe and was given, if I remember correctly, to a PEGI 18 rating. The reason being gambling mechanics. Now, the gambling mechanics inside of Balatro is one thing and one thing alone, and that is poker hands. There is nothing else that is actually gambling. There's no real world money exchange. There is no bluffing. There is nothing else. You are just playing a poker hand to be able to get to a certain number, to be able to beat the number inside of the game. That is all you are doing. The European Ratings Board decided we are going to give Balatro a PEGI 18 rating because of gambling mechanics. Specific games like EAFC, FIFA back in the day, and others, looking at you, Valve, CSGO, are able to have loot boxes and other actual real world mechanics that you have to pay for that are just slot machines, but inside of a game. Meanwhile, these games don't always get a PEGI 18 rating. CSGO does have a PEGI 18 rating, but that is due to violence. Balatro was given this wrongfully. Thankfully, Local Thunk and his team, or their team, were able to appeal that decision, and so they are now a PEGI 12 game, essentially rated T for teen as far as I understand it for my American brain. So, yay! They are no longer rated 18 plus. Huzzah! I'm going to go over that dates for me a while back because we heard rumblings of this in this community a while ago. Chris Barrett is a former, I don't even know what his position was. He was very high up at Bungie. For those of you that don't know, Bungie is the company that makes Destiny 2. Chris Barrett, very high-ranking person in the company, decided, hey, I am going to be real creepy and get my ass terminated for it. And then I am going to sue Sony/Bungie for wrongful termination. We had heard that in the Destiny community for a while, that there was a couple higher-ups abusing power and power dynamic issues and all these other things. But it was only rumors, baseless rumors, no real hard physical evidence. Well, apparently Sony has the evidence now, and they put it out for everyone to see and read. Barrett asked Victim 1 to play Truth or Dare over text message and inquired, what do you think is your best and worst feature physically? Later, he told her in a text that she was hot. To the same victim, he called her drunk, FaceTimed her, specifically, and suggestively, while moving down a dark hallway to his bedroom, said, "I can't believe I am lying in bed talking to victim 1. Barrett sent this to victim 2 via Instagram direct messages, mind you. "I'm not hitting on you. I hope it doesn't feel like that. I'm married, but I can be honest. You are the .0000001. I'm assuming he meant to put percent. And better be treated like that forever." Victim 2 responded that her boyfriend treats her very well. Barrett responded, "He better, 'cause I would hit on you if he wasn't." Mind you, the message before, he said, "I'm married." During a game of Ask Me Anything instigated by Barrett over Microsoft Teams messages, Barrett told victim 4, "I can see you wearing devil horns, and I have so many crazy stories. I'm sure you have a few crying laughing emoji." In another Microsoft Teams exchange to victim 4, Barrett wrote, "Are you still in PJs? And is it like a button-down top and bottoms? Sweatpants? Maybe Lululemons?" Destiny was a game that I sunk way too many hours into. And to hear that someone who was very high up in the company decided to abuse their power in such a way and then sue that company and its parent company for wrongful termination, that pisses me off as a person, and that should not be tolerated. I don't normally like big corporations and big companies. However, in this very instance, good job Sony for one, putting this out, and good job Sony/Bungie for getting rid of him. Keep it that way. Hopefully we get more hard evidence, because Jesus. Dauntless, the game made by PhysX Labs, is shutting down May 29th. For those of you that did not know or do not know what Dauntless is, it is or about to be, was a free-to-play Monster Hunter RPG-esque game. Not exactly full-on Monster Hunter, like the actual game series, but close. A similar style of game. I had a lot of fun with it myself. I pulled some other friends in to play it. We're all big Monster Hunter fans. Can't wait till the 28th. Enjoyed. But there was a couple issues with the company/game. We'll go over the issues with the company, since that is more so what I am familiar with. The larger issues of the game I did not experience, but I have heard and seen the Steam reviews, so I can go on those. Back in 2023, a blockchain company bought PhysX Labs. Hey, editing Ryan here. While I was grabbing the B-roll for this part, I found out that apparently PhysX Labs regained its independence right before this. Originally C/Garena, which originally was called Garena, acquired them back in 2020, and then they regained their independence in 2023, and that's when the layoffs happened. So from what I can gather, it would probably be having to do from the fact that they didn't have a lot of liquid to be able to kind of keep the company going. So it wasn't to do necessarily with the buyout, but from the buyback. They laid off almost a majority of the studio 2 years after they bought it. And then those poor devs had to help finish and ship what was a critically panned expansion. And not just critically, fully panned. No one liked it. It's honestly really sad, considering how much I enjoyed the game. Actually, I had a lot of fun with it. It was really enjoyable, but didn't really fully grab me like Monster Hunter did. But now it's going away May 29th. So, sorry to say, everybody, but if you want to play Dauntless now, you might want to do it now. This is not necessarily fully gaming related, but it is partially, because it's going to affect your games. That is, if you've bought a recent 50 series card. God forbid if you have, because holy shit, scalpers. What the fuck? So, Nvidia has decided to turn off PhysX on its new 50 series cards. Not even necessarily turn it off. They didn't ship with it. You don't have PhysX anymore. You don't get to play old titles like old Arkham games or Mirror's Edge, which is highly dependent on the movement. There are so many games that require PhysX that now they're not supported by the newest card that, mind you can barely even buy right now. 5090s are pretty much gone. 5080s are almost out the door fully as far as I understand it. And I don't even know if the 5070 is fully released, but if it has, I can almost guarantee that is almost also gone. This gen is just having more and more and more and more problems. First, we had melting cables, and now you cannot run PhysX games. But if you wanted to try it, you can't even do it now if you have a shiny new graphics card. So, fuck you, I guess. Our next story. Activision Blizzard has confirmed that some of the assets in Black Ops 6 were AI generated. From what we understand, this was not directly like game models necessarily. It's mainly like loading screens and banner art and other more 2D aspects, not necessarily full 3D pieces, right? No like models as far as we understand it right now. This means that a lot of people were disgruntled, to say the least. And on top of that, we are learning from sources that are not fully corroborated, but they seem to be good, from inside Blizzard Activision, that a lot of the 2D artists were let go, and the remaining team members had to essentially do more work. And because of that, either out of necessity to make deadlines, or from the fact that they felt overburdened, or maybe even higher ups were telling them they had to, they used AI to be able to create concept art and other 2D assets for the game. This leads to a larger problem. Microsoft, who owns Activision Blizzard, created Muse. Muse is an AI tool / program that was specifically designed and trained to be able to create video game assets. How true that is, I am not sure. However, Satya Nadella, the CEO of Microsoft, said in a podcast, it's just very cool. One thing that we wanted to go after was using gameplay data. Can you actually generate games that are both consistent and then have the ability to generate the diversity of what that game represents and then are persistent to user mods? From what we can garner from that statement, Muse not necessarily was specifically trained, but it was trained to be able to create assets for games. Now, we don't have confirmation that Muse was used in the creation of Black Ops 6, but we do know that both Satya Nadella and Brad Smith, the president of Microsoft, have been upfront and have stated that AI is going to become a staple at Microsoft. And Brad Smith specifically on this topic said that some people will lose their jobs because of it. This leads just into my main issue with this whole thing and AI in general. I could realistically care less that some people are going to lose their jobs because of a technological leap. My main issue with this technological leap is taking out a human factor from something that is very specific to the human condition, and that is art and expression of artistic means. It is giving certain people who would not necessarily have the means to be able to create various pieces of art the ability and the ease to be able to do that. Cool. The main issue is that we live in a world where the buck is the main draw. So, profit pushes our progress. Instead of worrying about the expression of artistic creativity and passion, we are now worrying about our bottom line. And this is where I have the problem with AI. It is not being used to be able to help the person who wouldn't necessarily to be able to express themselves creatively to be able to do it in a way that can satisfy their creative side. Instead, it is being used to be able to bolster profit and push people out who don't necessarily need to lose their jobs. Konami has given the green light to the recent Silent Hill 2 remake devs, Bloober team. They are being given the ability and the means and the money and the green light to be able to work on a new undisclosed game. We do not know what the game is. It has not been confirmed. It is a Konami IP. So, Bloober team is working on something new. We don't know exactly what it is, but we shall see. We can hope that it's Silent Hill 2 related, but we don't necessarily know. It could be some other, like, horror IP from Konami. I don't know how many other horror IPs they have, though. But this is Bloober team's wheelhouse. They do atmospheric horror. That's their whole thing. That's been their shtick for a very, very long time as far as I understand it. So most likely we're going to see a new atmospheric horror from them, but it could be good for those of you that enjoy Silent Hill 2 and enjoyed the remake, because same team. So keep an eye out for news on that, and I will also be keeping an eye out and let you know the second I hear anything. And our last bit of news. So, Monster Hunter Wilds reviews copies are out. All the reviewers are getting their hands and their sticky little games journalist fingers all over them. And thankfully, according to OpenCritic and Metacritic, it is a resounding success. Last I saw, it was an 89 on OpenCritic and a 90 on Metacritic. The 90 specifically coming from the PlayStation 5 side. If I remember correctly, the PC and Xbox were both sitting at 89. Either way, great news for Monster Hunter Wilds, and hopefully the player and normal user reviews will be just as good. Hey there, everybody, welcome to Indie Spotlight, my favorite part of the show. So, get to go over some new games that are coming down the pipeline and get you a little bit interested in some interesting games. First one to start with, we shall start with The Local. I had fun with it. It was extremely slidey. That was the only thing that I didn't really fully enjoy, but it is quite fun. So this one is planned to release February 26th, and you can go and actually check out the playtest now if you so desire. All right, on to our next one. Haste. I had a lot of fun with this one over the Steam Next Fest. If it is currently past March 3rd, you can no longer play this. However, it will release soonish. So definitely go and wishlist it. You can do that for almost all of these games, and it's going to help them immensely in the Steam algorithm. So definitely go and give them a wishlist. This one is Monster Rest. This is a very cozy game. I use that term loosely because it does have some fun little monstery elements to it. But monstery in the sense of Studio Ghibli. Hope you all enjoyed, and I hope that I will see you all next time.